Let's talk about how you spend your money. How often do you buy something using cash? Well, there's a good chance the answer is not often these days. But some of the most vulnerable people who still rely on cash, the shift towards plastic comes with rising costs and fewer places to buy things. That's according to the Commons Treasury Committee. They say a lack of UK government action on the issue is creating inequality because cash is no longer widely expected. Well, let's speak to Ron Delnevo, who is chair of the Payment Choice Alliance, which campaigns to protect cash services. Ron, good morning to you.
Good morning, Gary.
Give us an idea of what you have seen when it comes to businesses accepting cash or not.
Well, we have had a reduction in acceptance. You know, you have car parking now, which is very difficult. Some car parking you can only do using a smartphone and apps, and millions of people still don't have smartphones. You have things like people on trains can't buy food any longer because they're not accepting cash. We've had restaurants that don't accept cash, pubs that don't accept cash. There's just a situation where the public, who have a right to expect their cash to be accepted, are being turned away, and it's affecting vulnerable groups, but it's also affecting people who simply want to make the choice of using cash.
Yeah, for many people, they might see what you're talking about there as progress. As you say, you can book parking, whatever, on your smartphone, but as you point out, it's causing problems. What sort of problems are we seeing potentially with this?
Well, there's problems for obviously elderly people who may not have the technology or be able to afford it or able to use it. We've got 16 million people with disabilities. Many of them struggle with this technology. We've got 4 million people living in abusive households where they can't escape that abuse unless they can use cash, and so on. So there are millions and millions of people. But when we surveyed the public, we found that 71%, which equates to 40 million British people, want a law put in place saying that they must have their cash accepted. And frankly, this Treasury report really kicks things into the long grass. Instead of saying something must be done now, every country around us is taking action. France, Belgium, the Netherlands now, Spain, Norway, Denmark, and yet we're sitting on our hands. It's very, very disappointing to see a Labour government not acting to work in the public interest rather than supporting businesses who want to impose cashless on the public.
When you say other countries have taken action, give us an idea of what they've done.
They've just brought in laws saying that cash must be accepted. France have done that. Spain have done that. The Netherlands is doing it. That law will be passed before the end of July this year. And it simply says that when people want to use cash, that they have that cash accepted. Obviously, some people want to use apps. Some people want to use cards. But the truth is, if you analyse the statistics, 60% of people in Britain and in Scotland use cash regularly, and they spend about £250 every month in cash, which is most of their discretionary spend. So it's not something that's a marginal issue. This affects millions and millions of people, and we expect the government to do something about it, not say that maybe in a few years' time action is needed. Action is needed now to protect the public interest.
Is it not the case, though, Ron, that many businesses, or maybe the majority of businesses, accept both? Many would maybe prefer you to use a card, but actually they will accept your cash. How many businesses, or what sort of proportion of businesses do you think are now putting up signs, you do see it occasionally, saying we are card only, we no longer accept cash?
It varies from which part of the country you're in. It's not so much a problem in some areas in Scotland, but it's a growing problem everywhere. And frankly, this report will lead to more of it happening because it's not taking action now. You know, effectively, this report's saying, it's as if the captain of Titanic said when he saw the iceberg, oh, don't bother steering away from it or trying to just crash right into it. And then when the whole thing is a mess, maybe then we'll sort it out. Sort it out before it's a total mess. And that way the public get what they want, which is payment choice.
Ron, if I'm running a tiny business in a small village that doesn't have a bank and I maybe have to travel 10 or 15 miles to my local bank to deal with the cash that I'm taking in, isn't it up to me whether I take cash or not?
Well, that's not what every other country around us in Europe said. They say it's up to the public. And you're absolutely right, though. It has been made very inconvenient in many places. I was in Campbelltown recently, and I was 50 miles from the nearest Big Five bank branch, 50 miles on mainland Scotland. So what we need, to pick up your point, is far more banking hubs. They're talking about 350 banking hubs to replace the banks we've lost. Well, that's wrong. We need at least 1,200. So every community with 5,000 or more of a population in Scotland and elsewhere has a banking hub that businesses find it convenient to use. Businesses need help, but the public need more help because they're the ones that really suffer if their cash is rejected.
A Treasury spokesman says cash continues to be used by millions of people across the UK. They say they're working with the banks to roll out, as you say, 350 hubs by the end of this Parliament so that people and businesses in the areas that have lost bank branches still have access to it. We welcome businesses who do want to continue accepting cash. New rules introduced by the Financial Conduct Authority support this by helping them to make deposits. And those banking hubs are where the banks come together and provide a service, but it's not lots of individual banks that are all just working under the one roof.
Well, basically, it's a post office service. The post office actually operate the financial services and banking hubs, and the banks put in one bank one day will have a rep, the next day another bank will have a rep, but it's not truly fully replacing bank branches, but it's a big help, and there aren't enough of them. As I say, how could I be sitting in Campbelltown and it's Nationwide, a mutual that's running the only financial services there? The banks have deserted that area, and all around Scotland we're seeing the same thing. So let's have not 350, but as I said, 1,200 of these banking hubs so that every community of any size in Scotland can have a banking hub like it used to have bank branches. That's what the public want. I'm afraid that the Treasury isn't really doing enough. It's talking about doing things, but as usual, as I said earlier, kicking it into the long grass about actually taking action that helps the public.
Ron Delnevo, who is chair of the Payment Choice Alliance, thank you.